I thought that the quality at times was lacking, but you would expect that from two sides at the bottom of the division that are fighting for their lives. I mean, Everton were brave. They were brave, given the way that they've been playing recently and the fact that they don't seem to make many inroads into scoring goals. They certainly gave themselves a lot of opportunities. Defensively, they were all over the place. I mean, Michael Keane, I don't know, listen, don't want to personalise things, but some of the defending was not good enough. But a result of a draw was probably much better for Everton than it was for Leicester.
Yeah.
Because Everton going to Leicester in that game would have probably taken a point at the beginning of it. But the way the game unfolded, of course, going 1-0 up and then going 2-1 down and then nearly going 3-1 down if it wasn't for James Maddison taking probably one of the worst penalties that you could see.
Yeah.
And then getting themselves back in the game. But it was what I like, as much as I don't like talking about relegation on half-empty glasses, I do like these games when there's real jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it becomes something different, doesn't it? You sacrifice quality for intensity.
Oh, so much riding on it. Jimmy O'Hara wasn't having it last night when I heard him in talkSPORT. What did you have, what was your take on Pickford's water bottle with the messages about who might do what penalty? On the side of the water bottle, he's got Maddison, 60% middle, so stay. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did. Jamie's not having that.
On what basis? What does he think? That's some form of gamesmanship or cheating?
Yes.
Really?
He's taking inside information onto the field of play with him.
Right.
Well, what's wrong in giving your substitute a little note that you give to somebody else when you go in the field? It's exactly the same thing, isn't it?
I just think he's being pedantic.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is James Maddison took a very poor penalty, and that's what was the ultimate outcome. And I think that's incidental. I think the fact of the matter is he could have either been told by one of his teammates, don't forget Maddison down the middle, or he remembered it himself. So
exactly.
what?
Who's it a better point for?
Everton.
Okay.
Everton.
Post-match, Dyche spoke, but so too did Dean Smith.
I thought we were second best first half. I thought even though we went in 2-1 at the break and could have been 3-1 with Vars hitting the bar and a penalty miss, but too many unforced errors from the quality of players that we have allowed Everton to. I thought Everton started the game like they did against Newcastle and were good, and we never handled the ball as well as we could have. But always good to come back from a goal down and to take the lead. And I think it's a little bit of what if, with the penalty, if we score. Obviously it's a different game in the second half, but I saw more of the control in the second half that I wanted, but not enough quality in the first half.
We can only look after ourselves. You never know. Results were pretty decent for us over the weekend. We'll have to wait on the points. We've got to stay focused on performance levels like that, because that's what sorts you out. But you've got to keep doing it. You can't just hope for it. You've got to keep actually taking on. That's the biggest pleasing thing for me. I spoke after the Newcastle game against players. You can't wait for things to happen. You can't do it. And I said, we have to make things happen. There's clear signs tonight of us trying to make that happen. So that's the takeaway for me, is continue with that mentality.
Sean Dyche. Simon, did you say it was a better point for Everton?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, they remain in it.
I know they do.
Second bottom, but the point takes Leicester out of it.
But given they were 2-1 down, given the balance of probabilities that the home teams in these games are going to come out with outcomes that are better than the away team gets, I would have said it's a better point. When they were 1-0 up, I figured that Everton might have a chance to go and win this game, but when you're 2-1 down and someone misses a penalty, you're going to take this as a better point. The challenge is that when Everton play Brighton and Man City next, they're in a similar position. They're in a similar position to Leeds, that the next two games out of the box could be quite diminishing. But they've got Sean Dyche in. And Sean Dyche is a different animal. And I get a bit sort of these silly statistics about 50 incursions into the box and all that sort of stuff that have become part and parcel of manager speak now. I just think it's going to be nip and tuck. It's going to be nip and tuck between Everton and Leeds. And I've suggested Leeds will go down. But then again, you look at the fixtures and you suggest yourself, if Wolves turn up like they did against Brighton, then that's a nice day out for Everton at Molineux.
For sure.
And Bournemouth in the last game of the season, nothing to play for.
Yeah.
There's 4 points available to Everton there, which puts them in a similar space as Leeds. Because I'm talking about Leeds being able to get 4 points of West Ham and Tottenham. Everton could get, you can't make a case for Everton getting much out of Brighton, can you? You certainly can't make a case for them getting anything out of Man City. So they're in the same space as Leeds, but 1 point behind.
After 20 minutes watching it last night, I was exhausted. As you say, jeopardy written all over it.
Intensity.
You could sense they're fighting for their lives there. What was that like when you were at Palace? And so much is riding on it because you're the owner. You're watching them down there in a dogfight.
Well, certainly when we got relegated that season, it's not the most enjoyable of experiences. And we went down to the last game and we went down to 3 minutes. We scored a goal to go 2-1 up away to Charlton and would have stayed in the division 7 minutes. And they scored a goal in the 83rd minute, which equalised and relegated us and kept West Bromwich Albion in the division. It's not great, it's not fun, but like everything else, you live to fight another day, and you've got to get perspective. You have to get perspective. You cannot, certainly as an owner, and I think even more so sometimes with the players, you cannot allow yourself to get caught up in the circumstance. You've got to play the game and not the situation. The situation is evident, it's self-evident, and the manager's got to try and make you play the opposition rather than the circumstances that you find yourself in. Yeah. Easier said than done, but that's the job of managers.
Yeah. Did you let the emotion get to you on the day of the Charlton game? Or did you not show it?
No, I didn't show it. I mean, I had an altercation with the Charlton chairman, but it wasn't a particularly palatable exchange. But you get on with it, don't you? Because we'd got relegated. And it was a disaster for me. It was a waste of time and energy, and all the ambition that we'd had to get in the Premier League was gone. But I believe in what comes next, not what happens previously. But prior to the game, yeah, of course, you're zeroed in, you're focused in and building up to the occasion. And we had played Southampton at home, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory again by being 2-1 up, and Danny Higginbottom scored in the last minute. And then Charlton did the same thing to us. So you live it. You do live it.
Is the most exasperating thing about that is that you yourself have no control over it?
No, you just priced in. You accept that. That's the nature of the beast. You, as an owner of anything,
you're not doing your nut watching it.
As an owner of anything, you only have a certain amount of control over situations. Any business, you are as good and bad as your employees. Yeah. And ideally, your biggest assets are your employees, but they can also sometimes be your biggest liabilities. And of course, there are times, because of the scale of football, because of the public domain business, and because of the scale of what you're paying people, you cannot help but think, for the love of Christ, what am I paying you to produce that? You can't help but think that at times. Yeah. But that's not constructive, so you keep that to yourself.
How long did it take you to go over it? You know, leaving Charlton that day, knowing we're down.
When I was pulling out of the car park and a Charlton fan told me that I was an effing W and all kinds of things, that was the moment where I thought, well, I tell you what, that's fine, that's fine. My attitude was that we go again. And that it took me a moment. It took me an hour of disappointment after the game, and then resolution kicks in. And if you're a winner, and someone determined to be a winner, and winners come in all permutations, then you get up off the canvas, don't you?
You do. There is nothing like this industry, is there? On this day 7 years ago, Leicester
won the league
5,000-1, won the title.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we look at them today.
Yeah, I was listening to Kasper Schmeichel last night on Sky with Jamie Carragher and the Dave Jones, the presenter, and he was a very interesting character talking about that. And we talk about football clubs and success of football clubs and how football clubs should be run and how awful it must be to be a Man United fans with the Glazers and what kind of owner you want. Well, didn't they have a brilliant, fantastic owner who tragically passed away and left his son with the same motivations, yet they're going to get relegated if they're not careful?
Yeah, true.
When you talk about what kind of awful owners have you got, be careful what you wish for.
That's true. Yeah, he did speak Welsh, Michael, last night. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, he's a bright man, isn't he?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.